Square foot gardening is a great way to get more harvest out of less space. You don't have to deal with as many weeds as traditional row gardening, and it simplifies gardening for beginners. You guys might be wondering why I have my son with me. Happy baby, happy wife, happy life. That's what I turn it to. Without further ado, let's get into it. Hey, this is Devin from Prepping to Survive, where I try to help you guys have a simple, safe, and happy life. I ended up trying square foot gardening for my very first garden, and it's worked out good so far. Don't have any complaints. So the first tip I have for you guys is if you don't have a big space to deal with, so if you have an apartment or a condo, stick to a high yield crop such as kale, lettuce, tomatoes, beans, or peppers. Those are all really ideal for a long period of harvesting. For my square foot garden, I ended up making it 3 feet by 8 feet long. And the only regret I have is the 3 feet here. Because I can't get it onto the other side, you should make it 2 feet. If I had to do it again, I'd definitely make it 2 feet. 4 feet is ideal if you can get to both sides. But because my garden is on the side of my house, I can't really reach across as well as I'd hoped for. So ideally 4 feet if you can make it go on both sides, 2 feet if you can only make it on one side. It's important for you guys to build in 1 foot increments. So I built mine 3 feet by 8 feet. So if you guys would go 4 feet by 4.5 feet, wouldn't work out because you can't really break your garden into 1 square foot pieces. And that's what you do for square foot gardening. So I ended up losing the baby, but he's really with my wife. And it sounded really bad.
Before we get started, here is the fun fact of the video. For every 2 minutes that the sun reaches the earth, it is equivalent to the whole annual usage of humanity. If you guys didn't know that, then smash that like button.
So the 2 things you guys will need to already have done is have a raised garden bed built and then have the soil mix of whatever you choose. So each of these squares is 12 inches or 30 centimeters in diameter. Within each square, you can plant 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 9, or 16 crops, depending on the size of the crops and the rooting system. So this is the last picture I'll show you guys. It's the number of crops you can plant in each square foot. As you go to plant your crops in your squares, you can come back to this picture for references. So I ended up planting half of the raised garden bed first, which you can see on the left side. And then I just planted some of these square foots, but what I'm going to do is this corner piece, I'm going to plant it with you guys to show how to do it. The reason I planted right here first is because I don't want all my crops ready at the exact same time. So I stagger them 3 weeks and we'll see how this works. So for ideal growing conditions, you want 8 hours. So for ideal growing conditions, you want 8 hours of sun exposure, and that's your garden should be facing the south side without any kind of blocking. I have a trailer in the back, which sometimes would block the sun, but I put my raised garden bed or my square foot garden further away where it gets at least 8 hours of exposure. And then also on that topic, just to keep in mind that whatever you're planting, so tomatoes and cucumbers, they have a longer growth height. So you want to put them at the furthest away from the sun. So if you have, this is your south facing side, you want your tomatoes as far away as possible. And that's just kind of something to keep in mind. So to make sure you have the perfect square feet, from the insides, you want to measure 1 foot inside. From there, 1 foot. You can do it from either end, but you want to make sure that you measure from the insides and not the outsides, because then you have the width of this 2 by 10, and the width of this piece of wood will be in your measurements, and it won't be an exact 1 square foot all around. And you do that for all 4 of the sides. So after you have gone from the inside and marked 1 square foot all the way around, what you want to do is you want to nail in just a flat top common nail in about halfway, sticking out a tiny bit, and later on you can nail these all the way in kind of thing. But you want to nail them in, and then say you're starting over here you want to take a piece of twine, a string, whatever you have, tie it around, tie it onto here, and then you want to go across, go around, and then come back. And I'll show you a video right after this just to demonstrate it, but you want to just swing it around type of deal. So this isn't as important for planting seeds, but in the future, when your plants are starting to grow, what you want to do is you want to water close to the soil and not splash onto the soil. And this is because diseases and fungus and a bunch of other stuff is in the soil, and it can go onto your plant's leaves and start ruining it. So what I do is I've got a bucket just with a really old pan that I don't really use anymore. Oh, I'm not going to use after this, and all I do is get the soil really wet, and this will help your seeding process. Plus, you won't have to water nearly as much afterwards, and you want your seeds to be all soaked in, definitely on the first couple days. The next thing you want to do is you want to take a look at your seed package. On the very back, I don't know if you guys can see that, but on the very back it says seed depth, and for this package it is 1/2 inch deep. So the simplest way to mark out your 9 holes would be to get some fancy chopsticks that I got from a date that I cannot remember. I don't know where I got these chopsticks from. And do it into an X and O kind of pattern. So what you're going to do is you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 holes. And in each hole, you're going to have 2 seeds per hole. So let's mark it out. So you go 1/2 inch deep. And what the moisture in the soil doesn't seem to be, it didn't work so well. I thought it worked a lot better than that. Maybe it's too moist? Oh yeah, this is working really nice for the video. All right, so it kind of worked, I guess. The pen is not very good now. All right, so scratch that. So scratch the pen. Don't use pens. That was not the right pen, I guess. So use your finger and just go 1/2 inch deep. So now that you have 9 holes, what you'll want to do is grab your seed package you've got here. Dump a bunch, open it up. If it's not already open, I've already planted spinach, but get a bunch of seeds. You can always throw it back in the package. You want to take 2. You just grab 2, sprinkle it in. I'll let you guys see, sprinkle it in. Try to keep them kind of separated if you can. I don't know if that makes a big difference, but 2 at a time. Drop 1 more in there. And then for your remaining seeds, back in the package. The last thing you want to do is fill in the seeds with dirt and lightly soak your soil, which compacts the dirt around the seeds and gives enough moisture to start the germination process. Thank you guys so much for watching until the end. If you guys want to see how I built this compost tumbler or the raised garden bed that's over there, I'll have a link in the description below. If you guys want to see how I build a 55-gallon rain barrel for my next video, don't forget to subscribe. Until next time. If you guys want to see how I build a raised drum,